In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a graph for our Yeasty Beasties lab. You're going to need to start in Google Drive, and you might find lots of different ways to, lots of different icons or something, but ultimately you want to choose one that says Google Sheets. And this is going to pull up what's called a spreadsheet. And what a spreadsheet will do is it will show you it's a way to enter data into a data table, and then we can use this. In this case, we're going to use it to make a graph. So I'm going to start by putting in some information in the cells. I'm going to start by putting time, as you should. Graduated cylinder number 1, which I'm going to make my graph comparing if we're using hot water, cold water, warm water. And what's really cool about making these kind of graphs is if you want to autofill, like if you have numbers that are going to be in a repeating regular order, you can put in the first 2 numbers, and then I clicked on that little square and dragged it down, and it'll automatically fill this whole section. Then what I'm going to do is put in numbers in here, but I'm going to make sure not to include units. Usually I tell you always include units, but when you're putting in the data, the computer doesn't understand that. So all of our volumes in the Make Believe lab started with 35. So that's what I'll do. And I'm just making up this data. So if your data looks something different, don't worry about it. And after that, it wouldn't have gone anymore. All right, once it's finished adding in my data, what I'm going to do is highlight all of my squares. I click on one square, and then I'm going to drag it so that I'm highlighting all the squares I want to graph and include in the data. Now what this is going to do is it's going to create my x-axis is going to be time, and my y-axis is going to be the volume, and it's going to plot 3 different lines for me. So to do this, I'm going to simply click over here at the little button towards my right. It might be on a different spot on your screen, but it looks like a chart. When you hover over it, it should say Insert Chart. And when I do that, it's going to pull up a whole bunch of different options and be like, which one do you want to do? And so I'm going to take a look at my different options right here. And let's see. Looks like one of my data points is doing something funny. We can go back and look at that in a second. And what I can do here is we can start customizing it. You can go back and customize it later also. But one of the things that I want to do is change the title to something more description. So reaction of yeast in different temperatures of water. Another thing I want to make sure I focus on is that my on my left axis right here, it's not labeled at the moment. So I want to, that was the legend. So I want to go down here to where it says axis, and I want to label my horizontal axis. That's where I'm going to include units. And the other thing that is kind of unusual about this right now is our data points aren't quite doing what we want them to do because it's stacking and adding all the data. So Right here it says features. I don't want it to stack that information. I want it to plot the information on each on their own axes. So we'll choose that and I'll hit insert. And then using this little arrow here, I can put it in its own chart. Oops. Not publish the chart, but move to its own sheet. And there we have it. There is a great graph. Once you've finished this graph, title it with your class period. The name of the lab would be yeast. And then if you could write your first and last name. And then once you've done that, please click and share it with me, M. Williamson. And I should pop up. All right, great, good work.